guys, it's Kelly Letivola here, and I'm back with another video for W+9. Today we're going to be using lots of really great products from our newest release and doing just kind of a multicolored stamping technique. So I'm using Southern Florals 1 and 2, and then I'm also using the basic labels stamp set and die, and then the basic greetings die as well. So you know, if you watch my videos, typically I'm not a solid stamper, but I do have one or two techniques that I like to do when I use them. And this one is multicolor stamping, and ever since the Misty has come out, this is like super easy. So you're the way that I do it is I stamp my lightest ink. In this case, it's going to be shell pink. And then I'm only going to partially ink up the stamp with Little Piggy. And then I'm going to use a baby wipe to kind of blot it off at the edge so that it blends. And then the darkest color is going to be Sweet Gelato, and I'll put even less of that on. And then again, blot it with that baby wipe and stamp that down. Now, I have seen other crafters, when they do this technique, this is typically where they stop. I like my colors to be a little bit more blended, so I'm going to clean off my stamp, and then I'm going to go back in with that shell pink one more time, and then that will really just kind of blend all of the colors together really nicely. The way that these inks work, W+9 inks work is they have to, if you let them sit for a second, they blend really nicely into the paper. So they stamp kind of maybe a little splotchy at first, but as they dry, they really get super smooth. So I'm building kind of like a little bit of a bouquet pattern in the background. I've moved my flower. I am doing double duty here. So the little leaf up there is in Ocean Drive. And then the same shell pink that I used before. You can see I didn't necessarily do a great job of cleaning off my stamp, but I'm not concerned about it because I'm doing the same color combo. So for the leaves at the top, I'm adding some shading with Siren Song, which is a beautiful darker teal color. That one's actually a pretty recent release as well, just this year, I think. And then I'm doing the flower again, stamping that off, and then I'm going to stamp the Ocean Drive on the leaves on top completely so that it blends it really nicely. I just kind of worked this in this pattern, doing it kind of the same till the whole thing was filled in. I wasn't like married to any of it. If I needed to adjust for like to make room for it, I didn't put the leaves in the same place every time. I just wanted to get enough on there that it made sense. For the other leaves, just to bring in another green color, I stamped them in Last Leaf. I'm adding the shading in Mojito, so I'm only putting that more at the base of the leaves, blotting that off with the baby wipe, and then stamping it again. And when I did it, it wasn't dark enough shading for me. I wasn't happy with the amount of shading, so I'm just going to do it again. Joy of the Misty. You know, everything's exactly where I left it, and I can just do it again. You know, it takes maybe, I don't know, another 10 seconds. And then I was happier with the way that the shading looked on that. Now, I wanted to add some flowers to that leaf at the top so that it was more of a bouquet look. And originally I had picked Lake House. That's what I inked it up in. And then when I stamped it down, I realized that Lake House, that blue color, was so close to that teal family that I didn't like it. So then I was like, Lake House is a light color. It's not ruined. I'll just go over it. And I did with Bloomsbury. And then the darker shading on these little flowers is going to be Cockleshell, which is a really nice rich purple. And I'm still, you can see each time I'm still working that larger flower. So I don't have to do a ton of back and forth. You don't have to do one at a time. You can add these inks as you go. Here I didn't feel like there was enough shading. I missed one of the little flowers up top. So I just added a little bit more to that, added the Sweet Gelato on the bottom, stamped those down, and just kind of worked in that same pattern each and every time. For the little tiny purple flowers, I felt like there wasn't enough of them, so I just cleaned off my stamp, turned it around so that it would fill in that area, and then stamped them down again. I really love the way that it gives a little bit of dimension, but also kind of like a gradient look on those pink flowers. They're so pretty. So once I was done with the whole stamping, I wanted to do a little bit of an embossed greeting. The basic labels die has two banners that are in it. One is larger, one is smaller. I'm using the smaller of the two. And I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss my sentiment on some Simon Says Stamp black cardstock. So I'm stamping this kind of in the middle center so I know I'll have enough room for that die cut. I'm going to heat emboss it with white Simon Says Stamp embossing powder. I'm just going to clean up that edge. And it says, "You're the best." That's what the sentiment says. This is from the Basic Labels stamp set that coordinates with it. So they're perfectly sized to go with these banners. So I heat set that. I'm going to put my banner in place. And then I also, because my Big Shot is off screen and it's terribly difficult to get it underneath my camera, once I tape this down, I'm also going to cut out several of the friend die from the Basic Greetings. So I cut a bunch out in white. I think I ultimately cut out 6, and then I cut one out in a teal color that matched that Ocean Drive. I recently received this Nouveau Glue Cut, and it's the fine tip, and so I decided I was going to try it out because I have obviously very intricate dies here, and I wanted to stack them up so I would have a nice thick sentiment. And I really actually like the way that it worked. You know, as you push down, it releases the glue. It didn't run all over the place. I really like the way it worked well for me, so I just kept doing that, stacking them up on top of each other. Like I said, I think there were 6 or 7. And then this also saves me on colored cardstock because I didn't have to cut all of them out of teal. I cut them all out of white, which I already have like a million sheets of, right? I mean, I'm a card maker. So once I was happy with the way that looked, I can go ahead and start to adhere them onto the card. I did end up adhering the die cut with Tombow Mono Multi Glue, just because I know that's going to hold. I wasn't sure how the Nouveau Glue Pen would hold all of those die cuts on the card front. So I put that down and it's nice and sturdy and stands up. I'm going to pop up my die cut label on some Scotch foam tape. I just had to trim it down a little bit so it would fit. And I kind of adhered that a little bit offset from the friend. And then the last thing I'm going to do, instead of using sequins or the such, I'm going to use Nouveau Crystal Glaze, the drops in ebony. And this just brings that black in, ties it in really nicely, and kind of sets off the sentiment. And it doesn't cover up all of that beautiful stamping that I did in the background. So the only other thing that I did was I added some clear Wink Stella just to the large flowers because I love all things that are shimmery and shiny. And then that's the whole card. I mean, that was it. It was pretty simple to put together, especially with the Misty. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you guys give this a try. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.